I am Carol Angela Davis, and welcome to this week's edition of Impact News. Folks, well is all I can say. Because the question is, are things getting better financially for Black women when it comes to equal pay? Well, if you're working, you can answer that question now, can't you? Okay, according to the American Association of University Women, it takes Black women an estimated 19 months. Yes. To earn the same as their white male counterparts. That's a disgrace, because you know we're working harder. How do I know? Because I'm working harder. We're all working harder. We know the game. We've been in the game a long time. So far, it hadn't changed. Equal Pay Day measures the point when Black women finally catch up to what white men were paid the year before. The year before, folks. We're not even dealing with this year. We're dealing with the year before. Meanwhile, things are getting worse, okay? Last year, Black Women's Equal Pay Day landed on August 3rd. That's right, folks, August 3rd. But this year, it falls on September 21st. That's about 7 weeks later. Can you imagine? Indicating that the race-gender pay gap is widening, not closing. See, once again, the wrong people in charge. It's fine. Empathy counts, qualifications count, hard work counts, and Black women count. And we're going to be counted, and we're going to get what we're due. It is estimated that Black women earn 63 cents on the dollar of what non-Hispanic white men make. And folks, guess what? It is worse in states like Louisiana, where Black women only earn 48 cents on the dollar compared to their white male counterparts. That is a disgrace, because we know what we bring to this country, and we bring a lot. And while Black women's unemployment decreased in the July 2022 jobs report, guess what? Don't get excited, folks. It's still double white women's unemployment, and for Black youth, the number is even higher. No, stop, end, it's over. We're not taking it. We bring too much to the country, too much to the world to not be paid fairly. You don't get to make more money than us just because you're white. You better do that job and you're a male. You better do that job and you do it well. And if we do it better than you, which in many cases we do, we need to be paid for it. We either need to be paid at an equal rate or paid more for the work that we do if we're in a job where that is what is required. We are not going to continue to be set upon by this economy to not be able to take care of our children and our grandchildren because of some system that allows white males to be paid more, not because they're better, just because they're white. Sorry, I don't think so. Vote them out, vote the new ones in, and let's keep this ship floating and rolling. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Carol Angela Davis bringing you the news from around the neighborhood and around the world, and starting with your headlines, folks. One Senate candidate is speaking up about price gouging. Also, HBCUs create a prison to college pipeline, plus the Biden-Harris administration focuses on the mental health of our youth. Then Latino groups are bewildered over an apparent move to block a Latino judge, plus another ignorant person when it comes to the impact of overturning Roe v. Wade. Then drought in the Northeast, meanness in Utah, stupidity in Florida, and American guns and the damage they do in the Caribbean and around the world. Stay with me. We begin with your finances. Okay, Pennsylvania U.S. Senate candidate and Democrat John Fetterman wants big companies prosecuted for profiteering off consumers by raising prices when they don't have to. It's called price gouging, and we're all familiar with it, okay? It's driven up the cost of groceries, of medicine, of gasoline. It is disgraceful, while the big companies just keep getting richer and richer. They just can't get enough of your money, but they don't want to help you move forward. Chevron, Exxon, and Shell have seen their profits increase 200%, folks, since last year, but they are still charging us sky-high prices for gas. Chicken company Tyson, there's another one, posted over $1 billion in profits last quarter. Yes, while raising prices on meat products that families depend on. Well, John Fetterman says it is deeply unpatriotic. I couldn't agree more. Fetterman says pharmaceutical companies in the U.S., well, they've raised drug prices more than 1,100 times, and that is so far this year, and it's only August. Oh, they have to be stopped. All right, let's turn to our HBCUs, always making life better. They're at work trying to help those who are incarcerated or formerly incarcerated by investing in education and building a prison to college pipeline, the goal to reduce recidivism. Case in point, Stanley Andrees, who at 21 years old was once facing 20 years to life in prison, folks. Today, Andrees is an endocrinologist, he is a scientist, and he is a professor at Howard University School of Medicine. He has a PhD and an MBA and a classroom full of students who call him Dr. Stan. That's right, folks, okay? This is despite the fact that he had been convicted on 3 felony counts and spent many years in a Missouri prison. But he had a mentor who encouraged him to continue his education and helped him to apply to higher education while he was still behind bars. Folks, participating programs include Howard University, the Tennessee Higher Education in Prison Initiative, and Lane College, and a whole bunch more organizations. Check with your local NAACP or Urban League branch for details, okay? Now, the Biden-Harris administration, as we move on to our youth, is trying to address youth mental health. We know that rates of depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts among youth are on the rise, okay? The pandemic, of course, made it worse, and now more than 40% of teenagers say they struggle with persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness, and more than half of parents and caregivers are concerned about their children's mental well-being. Well, now the Biden-Harris administration is investing $1 billion over the next 5 years in mental health support for our schools. They're going to double the number of counselors, social workers, and other mental health professionals in our schools. Thank you. Our kids need it. All right, let's go on. Latino-led organizations, they say they are bewildered after a move now threatening the appointment of the first Latino judge to the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of New York. Last November, 85-year-old U.S. District Judge David Hurd, well, he told President Biden that he was going into semi-retirement. This cleared the way for a new judge to sit on the bench. But one day after Biden announced that he was nominating Jorge Alberto Rodriguez to the seat, Hurd took back his decision. That's fishy, okay? Latino organizations are concerned that this is an attempt to block the appointment of a highly qualified Latino judge. Rodriguez is currently a litigator for New York Attorney General Letitia James, and you should also know this, an estimated 7% of all current federal judges in the U.S., they are Latino, despite the fact that Latinos make up 19% of the nation's population. Some monkey business going on over there in New York. All right, let's go to South Carolina, where lawmaker and Republican State Representative Neil Collins reportedly fought back tears once he realized the new anti-abortion law puts young women's lives at risk. Seriously? You couldn't figure that out. You could not project on that. Why are you a lawmaker? Sorry, you don't have enough forethought. A 19-year-old woman nearly lost her uterus, okay, after her water broke after just 15 weeks of pregnancy, but because the fetus had a heartbeat, that's right, folks. Lawyers advised doctors, you heard me correctly, that they could not remove the fetus, even though that was the recommended medical course of action. Excuse me? So you're gonna allow people like this person who is not smart enough to understand what's going on to let a lawyer determine whether and how, for example, your heart operation should happen? I don't think so. These people must go. This poor young woman now has a greater than 50% chance that she's going to lose her uterus, a 10% chance that she will develop sepsis and herself die. That's right, folks. We have to have smarter people at the table. This man could not project that something like this would happen. He's got to go. You got to vote him out. We need smarter people, and vote out all the other people who cannot think things through. Turns out critical thinking is a skill set that we need to run the country and to run states and counties and cities. Bye-bye. You got to go. All right, let's look at the climate. All of Massachusetts is now in drought as dry conditions expand in the Northeast. An extreme drought now covers the parts of eastern Massachusetts, also Connecticut, and the entire state of Rhode Island, folks, all right? Meanwhile, the West historic drought is threatening hydropower at the Hoover Dam. You should know that steep water cuts are coming for the Southwest as the Colorado River shrinks and Lake Mead's water levels plummet. The Colorado River, just in case you're wondering, it irrigates farms, powers electric grids, and provides drinking water for 40 million people. That's right. This is American farmers are forced to kill their crops and sell their cows because of extreme drought. It's not working. Wrong people in charge. Okay. Then from Utah, where a middle school administrator is accused of calling a student the N-word, and now he's been transferred. No, he's not been fired. He's been transferred. So another kid can experience his meanness. It happened at Binion Junior High in Taylorsville, which is part of the Salt Lake City metro area. Parents describe the transfer as a, quote, non-punishment, unquote. I'll say, whew. Now we're going to go to Crazy Town, commonly referred to as Ron DeSantis, Florida. A Florida Christian school is warning parents that all LGBTQ students will be asked to leave immediately. Ah, yes, okay, of course. The school is citing the Bible, specifically the book of Leviticus. It's the Grace Christian School in Valrico. That's about 20 miles east of Tampa. Find a better school for your kids. Surely you can do better for your children. And also from crazy Florida, where Ron DeSantis is emperor with no clothes, though he doesn't know it yet. Get this, Florida police, acting under the orders of a local Flagler County commissioner, apparently briefed a pro-Trump right-wing armed group before they went to the January 6th insurrection to overthrow our government. That's right, folks. The briefing occurred on January 5th, the day before, getting them ready to overthrow that government, folks. That's right. So far, no one identified as part of the Flagler Commission, no one has been arrested or charged for any offense. Whew. Let's go to the Caribbean, where Haiti is seeing a spike in weapons smuggled from the U.S. as gun violence rages there. Police say they are simply outgunned. I mean, that's just all it's happening there. They are outgunned. Apparently, the weapons flow begins in South Florida, even though the sale of small arms and ammunition to Haitian groups that are not affiliated with the government was banned by a UN Security Council vote earlier this year, and it doesn't just stop with Haiti. Mexico has also complained that U.S. weapons are flooding into the country, right to the drug cartels and the gangs. And they are fueling violence in Mexico. So the Mexican government, it estimates that more than 500,000 guns, 500,000 guns are smuggled into the country from the U.S. every year. Mexican officials are suing U.S. gun manufacturers for fueling the nation's gun violence. Good for them. Again, we have to have a flight to quality. We got to get rid of these people who can't think things through and get the people in who can think things through, who can think critically, and who actually care about humanity. Now, there's a new concept. I'm Carol Angela Davis. Stay with me. I've got Ask Dr. K, the International Report, Crypto Convos, the Slay Word, and Missing. Stay with me. It is time for your Slay Word of the Week, and the word this week is caliginoous. C-A-L-I-G-I-N-O-U-S, caliginoous, folks. It is an adjective. That means it modifies or describes that noun, and its origin is from the Latin in the 16th century. The definition is dim, dark, obscure. Let's use it in a sentence. I'm quite sure life has grown caliginoous for Donald Trump and his minions now that the facts are coming out about all their dirty deeds and prison looms. That's right. Sentence number 2. Smoke from the burning potatoes had left the kitchen caliginoous. Caliginoous. That's your Slay Word of the Week. It means dim, obscure, dark. Use it all week and level up your vocab. Stay with me.
Anyone who thinks that slavery ended in the 1860s with the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation are grievously wrong.
If we caught a bird, we ate through the feathers and ate the bird. We didn't have nothing to cook on. We didn't have no stove.
You know who you are and who we are.
We're still on that big plantation.
She was bonded to them until they died. She was their slave.
They said, well, we're going to be killed tonight.
Could that same white dude keep terrorists there? Or Russian spies, or the KGB, and the government wouldn't know it? No.
They thought I was beat so bad that I couldn't do nothing, but I did.
Where are you? This is our Missing segment where we look for African American girls. And with the community's help, we will find them. We focus this week on Lashaya Stein. Here's her story. Lashaya Stein was 16 years old when she disappeared from Aurora, Colorado in 2016. There is surveillance video of Lashaya walking in the area of East Montview Boulevard and North Peoria Street in Aurora. Lashaya was seen during the early hours of July 15, 2016. She was wearing a black V-neck shirt, black stone-washed jeans, and a silver watch on her left arm. She also has a round scar on her chest. There is a $15,000 reward in Lashaya's case. Call Crime Stoppers with any information to help us find Lashaya Stein. Where are you? We are working to find you, and with the community's help, we will. Okay, we're with you with the International Report with Dr. Inyang Ebon Harstrup. How are you, Eni?
I'm good, Carol. How are you this week?
Well, I think it's a COVID. It's a COVID day, huh?
It's a COVID day. Not only is the weather gray like COVID, but I mean, we're still dealing with sick people, even if Omicron is a lot lighter of a disease. But I was reading today, and I thought it would be interesting to share with our viewers that now we've gotten over, we're getting over COVID. We've got the problem of all the waste that has been generated as a result of the disease. WHO has just put out a report talking about the vast amounts of waste that have been accumulated in the efforts to tackle the COVID-19 pandemic. Discarded syringes, used test kits, old vaccine bottles have piled up to the tens of thousands of tons of medical waste, and they're putting a huge strain on the health care management, the waste management system. So in the report said that 87,000 tons of personal protective equipment, which was ordered via the UN portal, have been laid waste. They have just gone to waste. And in addition to that, 140 million test kits that we have shipped across the entire world has the potential to generate 2,600 tons, mainly of plastic, and enough chemical waste to fill 1/3 of an Olympic-sized swimming pool. Some 8 billion vaccine doses were administered globally and were also estimated to have produced 144,000 tons of waste in the form of glass vials, syringes, needles, and safety boxes. So it didn't, while the report doesn't go on to say which are the countries that have generated so much waste, it does note that, for example, in India, of course, for example, in India, they had a lot of waste built up in their system. And also in Madagascar, they had a lot of fecal waste that had built up in the system. So you can imagine all this kind of waste is going to be a big problem for us to deal with, Carol. And climate change, with all its attendant ills and problems, I sat and I read this and I sat back and I said, oh my goodness, how are they going to cope with this problem?
What are we going to do? It's so interesting. Dr. Inyang Ebon Harstrup, with your international report, we bring you the report every single solitary week so you know what's going on around the world. Thank you so much, Edie.
Thank you, Carol.
I'm Carol Angela Davis. Stay with me for Ask Dr. K. Welcome to Crypto Convos. As you know, we always visit with Lionel the Builder's SAP because he knows what's going on in the crypto industry and we need to know. Welcome, Lionel.
Hi, thanks for having me as always. So this week I wanted to talk about decentralized banking and what we have learned about APY, the annual percentage yield that you get with some of these staking apps that you can use through crypto. So one of the best things about cryptocurrency was that you can stake your money, which is similar to an IRA, where you get returns on interest on your money just by locking it in with these applications and basically saying that you're not going to sell it. And I just wanted to talk about how that works perfectly in a bull market or even when things are going sideways. But unfortunately, crypto is so volatile right now that we have learned that when Bitcoin loses more than 20% and everybody starts panic selling whatever coin you are pegged to, whether it be Ethereum, Bitcoin, or Radium, Solana, anything, it loses value and it starts a free fall. And there has been a lot of companies like Celsius Network has paused all withdrawals within their thing because they don't have the money to pay for everybody that is withdrawing when you factor in the high annual percentage yield that they were getting, the 15% and above that they were getting. So they have the ability to do these things that banks can't and offer these crazy interest rates that banks can't. But that's when everything is going great. And we're seeing what happens, unfortunately, with us learning as we go, with this being a new market, we're seeing what happens when it goes down. So this is another instance of maybe regulation can come in and help us out. As much as crypto wants to be the anti-regulation, you know, this may be another instance of maybe setting those parameters will help us out.
Wow, that's very interesting. Thank you so much, Lionel the Builder Sap. I'll tell you what, I understand. I feel the same way as you about regulation. You got to have it, but I don't know. And crypto, we thought didn't need it, but it turns out little regulation never hurt anybody, especially in a capitalist society. Thank you so much, Lionel the Builder Sap. We thank you for all your knowledge and information about crypto. He'll be back next week with more. Thank you, Lionel.
Thank you.
I am Carol Angela Davis. This is Ask Dr. K, because we always close the show with you in mind and your health. And this week's topic, Dr. K, if I remember correctly, is Black female mortality.
Definitely. We really have to talk about Heather Gray. Heather Gray was the Emmy-winning executive producer of The Talk. She came from the Tyra Banks Show. She went to Brown University. She was a lawyer, and she died. She died of a quote unquote terrible illness at the age of 50. The illness was plasma cell leukemia, and it is a derivative, a very bad derivative of multiple myeloma. And Heather Gray was diagnosed in 2019, and she even received a stem cell transplant, and the disease came back, and she died in 2022. So what is multiple myeloma? It is a cancer of one of the blood cells, but it is 3 to 4 times more likely in African Americans, usually are men. And research, for one thing, is being done targeted towards our community, which is fantastic, let's face it. But the research is asking, if you have an autoimmune disease prevalence in your family, are you more likely to get it? And the reason why I'm raising this topic is because we know that the autoimmune diseases are related to inflammation. We know that cancer is related to inflammation. And we know that the animal-based diet is an inflammatory diet. And so food as medicine strikes again. What we eat is incredibly important. The whole foods plant-based diet is a diet where everything is whole and orange, not a supplement. Everything comes from the dirt, beans, grains, nuts, fruits, vegetables. Whereas the animal-based diet is everything that comes from an animal, and it's very much associated with chronic diseases, cancers. Now, in the case of this disease, multiple myeloma, the other question that's being asked is this disease related to inflammation, as are many cancers? How is it related to infection? And therefore, how is it related to what we call the microbiome, which is the family of bacteria that lives in our gut? How do we control the bacteria that lives in our gut and make sure we have healthy bacteria? We eat according to our genome, and that is the whole foods plant-based diet. Someone is going to get these chronic diseases, but the more information we know, the more we can make sure that we try to avoid it at all costs. Thank you so much. We are what we eat. Food is indeed our medicine. Thank you.
It really is. Dr. K, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you also for tuning in each week here on Impact News. We thank you. We'll see you next week. Dr. K will be here with you, closing out the show with your health in mind. Thank you, Dr. K.
Thank you so much. Have a great week.
And for all of us at Impact News, thank you.